We appear to have the inside dope on the Rams' offseason plans. The Chargers, just minutes ago, have slid under the NFL salary cap. And Julio Urias is the face of Mexican baseball. We just didn't know it at the time. Good morning. I'm James. This is your daily dose of sports and snark for the greatest sports city in the world, Los Angeles. This is the faithful Angelenos Morning Report. So it is March 11th, 2023. It is Galaxy Game Day. Despite the supporters group boycott, but we got an absolute ton of LA sports talk to get to you. If you enjoy the content we put out, clickety-clack the like button. Clickety-clack the subscribe button. There's a notification bell. Hit that. It'll let you know when we drop new content. Sharing is caring. Let people know we exist. And by all means, comment. We have everything you could possibly want on this particular show. Now, before we go through today's news and notes, the scoreboard. Tiger Campbell scores a career-high 28 points to lift the Bruins into the Pac-12 title game, 75-56 over Oregon. They will be playing Arizona tonight. We have a little bit more to get to about that game in a moment. Lakers 122, Toronto 112. D'Angelo Russell, welcome back with your 28 points. LA is one game away from reaching the 500 mark, something they haven't been at all year long. You remember, they started off the season 0-5. They are a game behind Dallas for the number 6 spot, by the way, in the Western Conference. Meanwhile, today, UCLA is playing at Arizona in the Pac-12 title game at 7:30. Bona is the second Bruins starter to get hurt in the last week or so. He dove for a loose ball last night, messed up his shoulder. We do not know at this time whether or not he's playing. But if UCLA wins, how could you not give them a top seed in the NCAA tournament? Just speculating. New York is at the Clippers at 1 o'clock. Brandon Boston has been ruled out. Okay, he's not even in the rotation. But the Clippers are currently 5th in the conference, 3 games out of home court advantage for at least one playoff round. Nashville is at the Kings at 7:30. With a win today, the LA Kings could be the top team in the NHL Western Conference race. LA Galaxy is at Sporting Kansas City at 5:30. Chicharito and Douglas Costa are both out. Sporting Kansas City, though, is one of 4 teams in MLS that have yet to score this year. So, Rams general manager Les Snead said the Rams are opting for a different approach this offseason. The whole go for broke, F them picks thing. Yeah, after going 5-12, they kind of need to seduce their slutty little picks instead of just flat out effing them this time around. They're also over the cap. Matter of fact, even people with the Rams don't see them being players for any top free agents until at least 2024. So yeah, they have no choice but to change their approach. So what is that approach? According to The Athletic, thank you, Jordan Rodriguez. You cut through a lot of the crap. Give this woman a ton of credit. She cites unnamed sources. LA's master plan is to go back to its roots by scoring so many points in bunches that it is going to help a completely revamped defense around Aaron Donald. Then, when better defensive assets become available, and they are under the cap, they strike for those players. Kind of like how a few years ago, when they knew they were good, then they effed the picks to go get Jalen Ramsey. Or then they effed picks to go get Von Miller. Now this development leads to a lot of eye-popping little tidbits and kind of brings to focus some of the wilder and crazier rumors. What is the wheat from the chaff? We're going to separate it. Here is what's important. Those same sources said it is possible that the Rams could trade Jalen Ramsey in order to acquire younger assets, not just particularly on defense, but both sides of the ball. Something more affordable, something that gets them back under the cap. So while rumors of trades with Matthew Stafford or Aaron Donald are not happening, it's possible it could happen with Ramsey. So you're saying to yourself, okay, who could trade for Jalen Ramsey? Now this is just me speculating. Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, and the NFL makes no bones about ripping off other teams' defensive or offensive concepts. So you take Brandon Staley. He left the Rams, took that concept to the Chargers. Other teams are starting to do the same. So if you're a team that doesn't see Jalen Ramsey as your traditional lockdown half the field cornerback, if instead you see him as a star position player that can play match zone, press up to the linebacker, support run defense, or even rush the passer, those are the teams that are going to be looking at Jalen Ramsey. Okay? And which team could that be? Well, obviously there's going to be more than one. But in my opinion, the primary one might be the Miami Dolphins, because they hired Staley's mentor, Vic Fangio, to be their defensive coordinator. And I was mentioning the other day that there's no way that the Rams get rid of both Ramsey and Troy Hill. But if they do the impossible, if they trade Jalen Ramsey, couldn't you theoretically now have enough space to bring Hill back on a cheaper contract? Because you can't get rid of both. Your defensive backfield would be too young, that sort of thing. The release of pass rusher Leonard Floyd became official yesterday. It's a hit to the pass rush. He tallied 28 sacks in 3 years, and there were others on the way out. 7 more players got cut. And I'm here to tell you, I follow the Rams super close. I am like a doctor, a pediatrician, going through your kid's hair trying to find lice. That's how close I am to covering the Rams, except for their St. Louis run. And I'm here to tell you, the 7 players they got rid of yesterday, aside from Leonard Floyd, I don't know a damn thing about them, so it's not a big hit. Another dude, though, cut himself from the roster. Offensive lineman Coleman Shelton terminated his own contract. Now, last year, they thought Shelton could have earned a starting spot on the line, on the offensive line. It did happen, but it wasn't because Coleman Shelton was so amazing. It was because the offensive line was just ravaged with injuries. He winds up starting 13 games. 8 of them were at center. That was because Brian Allen was out. So maybe it's a win-win for both the player and the team in that sense. There also, and all of this, like I said, all of this comes under this massive deep dive that I was doing in Rams articles over the last couple of days. The Rams cannot afford a bidding war for any of its free agents. Not one. So, for example, defensive lineman A'Shawn Robinson, he's going to command at least $7 million. He's gone. LA is now waiting to see how the market shakes out for other key free agents. That would include Baker Mayfield. That would include defensive lineman Greg Gaines. That would include safety Nick Scott. They're just in a holding pattern for those guys. Another person, though, who previously left the Rams, there was a possibility he might come back. No, that's not happening. That would be wide receiver Robert Woods. Woods signed with the Houston Texans. Meanwhile, there were 10 teams that went to see Odell Beckham Jr. work out. The Rams were, in fact, one of them. Finally, Sean McVay said his decision to remain Rams coach isn't simply for 2023. McVay said he wanted to make a decision, quote, that's in alignment for years to come, unquote. So in other words, unless something devastating happens to the man's health, Sean McVay is going to be the Rams coach as long as they both want him there. He added, quote, I'm really committed to not having this become a story every year because I know that's probably something that people were asking or wondering, and I don't take that lightly. That was why the reflection, because there was never a doubt whether you wanted to coach again, unquote. According to a website called Larry Brown Sports, and who knew that the former Clippers and UCLA coach gave a damn about football, the Chargers have reached out to free agent linebacker Bobby Wagner. Now you might be sitting there saying to yourself, wait a moment, aren't the Chargers seriously over the cap and isn't Wagner, good? Like a luxury? Well, maybe not. Maybe they are not under the cap. Breaking this morning, according to ESPN, the Chargers have reworked so many player contracts that they wiped clean $40 million off of the books for the salary cap going into next year. They are now cap compliant. Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, all of them and many more reworked their contracts to do it. Now, to be clear, it's kicking the can down the road. Those players are still entitled to that money. It's just that they're not going to get it now. Having said that, the Chargers, even though they went from over $20 million above the cap to $19 million plus below the cap, LA is not expected to keep defensive back Nasir Adderley or linebacker Drew Tranquill. The latter one hurts. He was their leading tackler last year, and that's perhaps why the Chargers figured they should reach out to Bobby Wagner. Now, having said that, they also need to figure out a way to keep Justin Herbert on a long-term contract. NFL people think it's a good idea to break the bank and give your young quarterback that massive contract the year before his rookie deal ends. If it's when his rookie deal ends, now it's even higher up into the stratosphere, and good luck trying to afford him. I mentioned before how much I love the World Baseball Classic. Today's game between the Americans and the Mexicans in Arizona is already a sellout, which is something the Phoenix hasn't seen since, I don't know, the war in Afghanistan started. I mean, seriously, Osama bin Laden could have been selling chimichangas at Chase Field and he would have been perfectly safe. There's nobody there. Now, I have no idea if this game will key a rivalry as passionate as the one in soccer, but I do know a bunch of Dodgers will be involved and they are down with playing for their country. Take Julio Urias, who will start for Mexico. Manager Benji Gill described him as, quote, Fernando Valenzuela. He's Vinny Castilla in the 90s. He's Adrian Gonzalez in the early 2000s. He is the face of baseball in Mexico, unquote. Now, I had no idea. I kind of feel like my Mexican friends were keeping it secret from me for all these years. I had no idea. Now, for his part, Urias told the LA Times how badly he wanted to participate, quote, for my Mexican people who want to see me wearing a Mexico jersey, unquote. I'm sorry, I'm an American. I dig that. I really do. That's why I love the Classic so much. Austin Barnes and former Dodgers prospect Alex Verdugo will also play for Mexico. Mookie Betts will be at second base for Team USA, by the way. The Athletic caught up with Cal Peterson, former Kings goalie of the future down in San Diego. If you recall, Peterson was demoted to Ontario 3 months ago. They wanted to see how it's been going. Even worse for Peterson, the Kings traded for a goalie a week ago instead of bringing Peterson back. And why would they do that? Well, Peterson has not been dramatically improving his game in the minor leagues. At times, it's been downright bad. At one stretch, he allowed 14 goals in 76 shots. That is an .816 save percentage. That is absolutely horrifying. Wednesday, against San Jose's minor league team, the man allowed 6 goals and 22 shots. Now, the article did go into all this work that he's putting in daily to revive his game with the Reigns goalie coach. But dude, numbers don't lie. I'm not saying his career is dying, but you can see the white light. Spring football for UCLA will begin April 4th. There are 15 practices. Perhaps one of them will be a full-fledged spring game. Having said that, you are welcome to go. It is open to the public and it will be free. And it will also be on campus. I've been trying to get a line on who helped themselves in their pursuit of playing professional ball. NFL Network lists Zach Charbonnet as the 3rd best running back prospect. ESPN rates Dorian Thompson-Robinson as the 6th best quarterback prospect. They like that he did not play hero ball and stayed within the UCLA system last year. Now, in terms of a good fit, ESPN thinks Philadelphia would be a good idea, that they might take a flyer. Now, it's true the Eagles already have Jalen Hurts, but what if Hurts gets hurt? Have it basically use Thompson-Robinson as a developmental prospect. ESPN's Zach Lowe wrote that he really likes the Lakers' moxie, But transition defense could undermine all of their hard work. When the opposing team is whipping the ball around the three-point line, he writes, it is common to see as many as 4 Lakers players below the foul line when the shot goes up. In other words, they are extremely out of position still, leading to open threes. Yesterday, while going through spring practice notes, I mentioned the Trojans hired a special defensive analyst, and he was going to do all this extra work with the defensive backs. They're going to add another defensive analyst. The guy's name is Greg Brown. He is a former defensive coordinator with UNC Charlotte. He has 25 years of coaching in college, 15 in the NFL. But what I don't know is if he's ever stabbed another defensive coordinator in the back to get his job. Alex Grinch. In terms of which former Trojans make a top 5 list, Jordan Addison is ranked by NFL Network as the 4th best wide receiver prospect going into the draft. Andrew Voorhees is the 5th best interior offensive lineman. Somewhat surprising because he's the nation's leader in sacks. Somewhat surprising, Tuli Tuipulotu, the nation's leader in sacks, is not ranked as a top 5 player, either on the edge or interior offensive line or defensive line. Stumbled there a couple of times. My bad. How much damage did the Trojans endure with that early exit from the Pac-12 tourney? Now, we don't know, but 2 prominent bracketologists, by the way, totally hate the name bracketologist. You like college basketball. You're not finding a way for humanity to sustain life on Mars. But I digress. They believe USC will still make it to the NCAA tournament. The bad news? Book your flight to Des Moines, Iowa. Yikes. Finally, I damn sure didn't watch the CONCACAF Champions League match for LAFC. I don't even know if it was streamed online. It was these matches, some of them are extremely hard to find. I don't even know if they have internet in Costa Rica. But the thing is, LAFC won 3-0. What we did not know, Dennis Bouanga scored a hat trick. So kudos. But you let me know what you think in the comments thread. You tell me about the Rams' grand plan and if it's going to work. You tell me if the Rams can afford both Bobby Wagner and keep their quarterback, Justin Herbert, long term. And if you like the content, don't forget to subscribe to Faithful Angelenos. We talk LA sports every single day. Thank you for watching. I'm James. We'll probably be back with a rapid recap of Galaxy Soccer tonight. Faithful Angelenos is a Kian Cortell Casey production. Take care.